Is this a playlist, or you just felt like hearing this song?
We both been singing it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't recall. No?
No. Does this show you when people join?
Yes, it should. So we're just waiting for a few people to join us. Hey, BJ.
BJ? Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Alcock, long time.
Long time. Who's that? Christopher Elcock.
Hey, welcome, guys. Come on in.
Welcome, your live viewer, Sean Howard. I know
Bishop.
that guy. I know that
Hey.
guy. How you doing?
Welcome.
Bishop.
We're just waiting for a few more people to join us for our, I guess, semi-late night Q&A. Hey, Beej. You're such a nerd. Shavar! Wagwan, as Yvonne would say.
What?
Wagwan!
Wagwan! What's going on?
Hey guys, come on in, come on in, come on in.
So how was your night, guys? Talk to me.
Oh, why did you stop it?
That's right, man.
Yeah. Alright. Well, we don't want to wait all night. At least I don't. Hopefully we'll have a few others join us. And if not, the beauty of social media is that you can catch the replay, or you can go to our YouTube channel,
Yes.
Marriage Musings. So welcome to those who are joining us, whether you're joining live or you're catching the replay. For those who've never seen a Marriage Musings, this is our first time doing a Marriage Musings live. If you don't know what Marriage Musings is, we are year 2, so I keep saying we still have our marriage training wheels on.
Yes.
And yeah, I think we were learning so much in year 1 of marriage that we wanted to start to capture some of the fights, lessons learned, experiences.
Let's call them lessons learned.
Fights, lessons learned, experiences,
Yes.
to pass on to other people who were, hey, Tanea, to other people who were newly in marriage. Even some people, we've been getting a lot of love for people who've been married for years, or for those that are preparing for marriage, because I think, like most milestone events in life, after kind of like having a child, like our oldest is 19. I have very little memory. Like, I can't even strap a baby into a car seat. So you start losing experiences and memories. So we wanted to start to capture some of the learnings and share, because and normalize.
Yes.
Normalize a lot of the experiences that married couples have.
Yes. And I was talking to Nicole today, and just talking about the fact that, people will say that, yeah, marriage is hard. They'll say that we know that people get into fights and arguments and so forth and so on. But it's often like it's left as a theory. It's just still out there. So I thought that maybe we could share, I guess not too specific, but make more real the experience, because I think on Facebook and in social media and so forth, it's so easy to put your best foot forward.
Yeah,
you post a nice cute picture of
yeah,
us in a coffee shop and whatever,
and they're like, oh, you
cute
guys are
couple.
so cute.
But there's some,
and we cute, but
yeah. There's some days where we're really vexed with each other, and so she's upstairs, I'm downstairs, and I'm feeling like me don't want to go up there, I tell you, and yeah, so it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's great sometimes.
So if you're watching and it's helping you, show us some love. And if you have some specific questions, we'll be on for as long as until my battery dies, I guess, because it's my life is a bit low on my phone. But yeah, if you have some specific questions, feel free to shoot them while we're here. It's a live Q&A, but you called for this live.
Did I? Okay.
And yeah, you said you wanted to kind of just, be transparent and talk about some stuff. So on the topic of conflict, conflict, yes, but what do you feel have been in the last 2 years of marriage have been some real like tension moments, like talk. So you don't have to get into like all the dirty, gritty, that word.
Yeah.
But like topic wise, marriage wise, what have been some of the contentions?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, to be honest, is one of our first huge big contentions was around my interactions with other women. Yeah. So.
What about it?
So. Yeah. So I think before I got married, I fed off of the attention of women, right? I fed off the like being needed, you know what I mean, and being wanted. So yeah, there were women in my life who sort of filled that need. Okay, sir.
He's going all out. I didn't even know he was going there. So I'm just gonna look. You talk. I'm just gonna look this.
So yeah, there are women who fulfilled that need. So the insecurities, I had, getting them fed in other ways, right? And of course, after getting married, that's a problem because everything is supposed to come from my wife. Like she's supposed to be everything to me, right? And there should be no room for any other women in my life, right? But it was that wasn't a reality to me yet. Like I didn't realize that yet. So I came into the marriage with certain relationships with the opposite sex.
And I wouldn't call them relationships.
Oh, not relationships. Yeah,
like
interactions.
Yeah, like friendships. Because I don't think to be honest, I don't think I would have gotten married to a man who was holding on to very intimate relationships with the opposite sex. So just to take the spotlight off you and broaden it a little bit, just and I mean everyone has a different perspective on this, but that was like a real deal breaker for me, so to speak. Right? Around us. And I had to part ways with some male friends as well. Not for the same reason. So I'll let you finish your story and then I'll, I guess, tell my spin on male friends in the relationship. So continue, yes. So I loved all the ladies going, oh my gosh, his dimples are so cute. And what else?
So so like as Nicole said, these relationships weren't like deep, and I wasn't going out, intimate dinners and hanging out, nothing like that. No. I think the core of the issue was that I was getting fulfillment from somewhere else, what I should have been getting from my wife. I think that was the core issue. So I had to cut some of those former friendships. He was loving the attention from other women, and truth be told, most of us are like, yes, yeah, it's true, yeah. So
like you said, it created like one of our first fights. And when I say fights, we don't yell. Not that like yelling is wrong or anything, but like when I say fights, but I just mean like. I think I got up the morning.
Yeah.
I don't think I slept much the night.
Yeah.
And I got up super early the morning.
Yes.
Which I'm not a morning person.
Yes.
And I left the house, because I was just...
It was like 6 a.m.
Yeah,
or something.
And I just left the house, which was a horrible way to deal with conflict, because I don't like the idea of walking out, and I've never done anything like that since then. But it was that... impactful. And it wasn't just the interaction, it was because in our heated fellowship that lasted for I don't even know how long.
Yeah.
I just felt like I couldn't get you to understand how insulting, impactful, and undermining I felt like the interaction was to our marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, and to we worked through it, obviously. And for me to work through it, I had to address my own insecurities, right? And my own habits. You know what I mean? So for me, like, whenever I would get down or depressed or feel like I was a failure or I wasn't accomplishing, that was my go-to. Women were, like, attention from women were always my go-to. So I had to break those habits, you know what I mean?
And not from a place of infidelity, but even basic things. Like, we're not talking about major infidelity moves, but even basic things like intentionally reaching out to the opposite sex for flattery or just doing things to gain flattery.
Yes,
and it was basic things like helping, like overextending yourself to help another woman outside of your union in your home when you have one inside of your union and home that you need to be attending to.
And what happens here is first,
it's paramount,
right? It's paramount, right? So when what's out there gets in the way of what's happening here, that's the issue. So we're not saying that we're not saying there's something inherently wrong with helping the opposite sex, or that there are circumstances where the interactions aren't there aren't circumstances where the interaction is okay, but in this specific case, the source and the reasoning why, that was the issue. So I really had to, I found a mentor to work this through with. I prayed, fasted, got some accountability, and then realize. And for me, like, whenever I understand the source of a thing, it's easier for me just to move beyond the thing, right? So I've gotten to a way better place now, and I think I know I'm in a way healthier place with that stuff, and I think we didn't no issues.
As to see, I'm kind of blind. So my fiance and I are now getting to know each other all over again after 21 years apart. How do you
see more?
Oh, how do you guys work through hard and tough arguments while courting? Was there times when you felt like you didn't want the marriage?
Yes.
Tamika,
Boy.
So first part is how did we work through? So I think of like Yvonne gave, like, I think respect. And it may sound like a cliche response, but we both are very committed to fighting fair. Because you can't undo saying ugly things to the other person. Yes. And one of the things, 20%,
20%, we're good.
One of the things that was, you're welcome, Tamika. One of the things that was fighting fair, not being ugly. And one of my rules in relationships is kind of, if you can pull it together even on a bad day to be kind to people at work, because you don't go to work, the average person doesn't go to work and become disrespectful to their boss and whatever. How much more the gift that God has blessed you with, right? In your ministry to each other, can you not exercise the same restraints to put your thoughts in words? And I'm not saying it never gets heated, right? I'm never saying it gets heated, it gets extended, but we talk it through, and sometimes it means taking a break. Sometimes it means saying, like, I'm too emotionally charged right now to have this conversation with you. Sometimes it's meant texting each other from different rooms of the house to initiate the dialogue and then coming together. Like, it's been a myriad of things, but I think at the cornerstone of it is the respect, and secondly, the mindset that to resolve quickly.
Yes.
We've also made a commitment to that, right? Because it's very easy to be upset and then, especially if you've been offended, and then wanting to punish the other person for the way that their offense has made you feel. And my theory, like, if you've experienced loss, if you've ever experienced loss, like a death, it makes you value time in relationships differently. And one of our, I think, shared commitments has been, well, for me, this is how I talk myself down, because I'm usually the more heated one out of the two of us, is I tell myself, if what my husband has done is not so critical that I need to leave him, like, pack up my things, get a divorce, and leave him, like, if it's not that critical, I need to get over it and quickly. Because I don't know how long we have each other.
Yeah.
And I don't want, and he's my best friend. I love him. I enjoy him. I enjoy my time with him. And I don't want that time cut short because I'm having him up, or you're gonna forgive him, or you're gonna forgive her. So just get on with it. And so that's usually some of what I do. So let me
What was our question?
I think there was arguments. And has there been times, Tamika said, when we didn't want the marriage? Babe, has there been a time when you didn't? Right?
Yeah. You know what? There was. Especially during the fight. And I think that born, for me, was born out of my own issues and pain bodies, where, we'd get in a fight, and I'm like, not even addressing the core of the issue. There was a time where I wasn't willing to fight through it.
Oh
you know
my
what
gosh.
I mean? I would
he would just shut down. He looked like a deer in headlights, and I wanted to punch him in his face.
Yeah,
Can I say that?
Yes.
Like, I wanted to, just tear his face off. I'm also the more violent prone one. Yeah. No, but seriously, we'd be in the middle of something, and I could see the vacancy, and it's like the body's there, but he literally left the building.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but there'll be many more times. You're right, and they'll pass too. But yeah, I would shut down, and I would and the conclusion I would come to my head was that, okay, we're not gonna see eye to eye, and so this is not gonna work. We'll just end it and done, right? So I was willing just to give up. But my wife, would fight through with me.
You don't even fight for us. You don't even fight for me.
But again, that was born out of my own pain bodies, right?
I have an event coming up. I would like you guys to speak for 15 minutes. If you're interested, message me, Alan, and let me know what's up, and we'll see if it's a fit for sure. But yeah, like Rev said, like Reverend Janet said, there's gonna be lots more. I don't think there was a time where I said I didn't want the marriage anymore, but there were many moments of, I don't know if I really thought this thing through. There's been, and I know, there were many moments of, did I really think this thing through? There were moments when, for those of you who may know the Bible, who was it again who died and, went to hell and then was in the bosom of... You remember that he wanted to go back. He wanted a little water to quench his thirst, and he wanted to go back to warn his family and friends not to come to this... Somebody help me out here. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm a minister and it's losing me. But anyways, yeah. And there were moments where I was just like, just let me go back and warn the single women. Serve God in your singleness. There were, you know what I'm saying? But there was never a moment where I'm like, I want out. I don't think there was ever a moment when I was like, I wanted out, because there was never a time.
Well, she's saying Lazarus.
Thank you. My God, there's some safe people on the line, because I'm not feeling so safe right now. I don't know my Bible. Yes, amen. So I wanted to go back and be able to warn people, it's you hear people say all the time, oh, marriage is hard work, and we knew that. I always say, I don't think we had an idealistic ideal coming into marriage, but
saying
my God,
because sometimes
exhausting.
The emotions are so, I'll be at
they're
work.
So high, it's exhausting.
I'll be at work, I can't focus. I'm like, what the hell, baby? Let's talk, let's text, let's do something. You know what I mean?
Fix this. And I feel so sad.
Me too.
I'd be mad, but I'd be sad, because I'm like, I don't want the distance. And I think that's probably how God feels, when there's a rift between us in heaven. I'm like, I don't want to be here. I want to get past this. But sometimes it's real. It's not like you're fighting over trivial things. They're real things.
Yeah.
So... And
things that could threaten the marriage,
that can threaten it. And it's not a matter of winning the fight, but it's a matter of getting to the root of what caused it in the first place, and then developing habits that are honoring to the marriage and to the values that you've brought into the marriage. Definitely. So I think some of the length of the fights have it's been because It's like, let's get to the root so we don't keep having the same fight over and over again.
Yeah.
Tanya says she's literally laughing out loud. Bosom of Abraham. Yes, thank you.
Well, I think
so relationships with the opposite. Yeah, so that was a deal breaker for me. I wasn't about that life. I wasn't about my friend, she's just my friend. I was not about that life. And if I can be honest, because I have been Jessica, I have been just that friend, right? And so I was like, I don't believe that it's possible to have like exclusively, and I'm generalizing here, but exclusively platonic relationships with the opposite sex where you're spending like lots of time, like where they're your go-to, you know what I'm saying? You go to them before you go to your spouse. They make you laugh, like especially for women. Once a man has you giggling all the time, that's like red flags all over the place. You know, like I was just like, I'm not trying to be 30 years deep into the marriage and then you're like, I'm in love with Jessica.
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm just making up a name. But I was like, get out of here. I'm not about that life. Yeah. So I'm just like, and my thing is the moment I talk to you about...
I'm find a charger. Back in a second.
Okay. The moment I talk to you about... He's going to get the charger, folks, so we don't lose you. The moment I talk to you about an interaction and you're going to defend it with me, that's a problem and a red flag for me too. So I'm not saying I don't have no male friends, but my husband knows them. I don't spend excessive times on the phone with them. We don't have no long history of text conversations in my phone. And maybe someone else is doing it successfully. That's fine. But you need to be aware of what challenges and strongholds you dealt with prior to your marriage. And I just wasn't trying to go there. Oh, you're so smart. Is it working?
Yeah, it's charged.
Oh, awesome. There's a little bit of juice there. Yeah, so I just wasn't even trying to give the enemy like a foothold. So someone else, it may not be their issue, but it wasn't trying to go there. So Jan, you said no what? No, you don't agree? Or what was that long no for? Yes, hurry charge. Yes, we're plugged in and charged.
Yes.
So yeah, really, and I had to cut some male friendships coming into the marriage because I needed to give my husband an opportunity to become what some of my male friends had become to me because we had been friends for a long time. So it wasn't even because well, no, some of the relationship they just had to go. I was gonna say it wasn't because it was bad. Some of them would have been bad for the marriage. But even when we started courting, I had to say to one male friend in particularly who was like one of my best male friends, I had to say, we can't hang out the way we used to hang out. We can't, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I gotta give this a chance. You know what I mean? It's new. I got to give this a chance. Yes, we have love for each other, but we didn't have the history that me and that guy friend had. And I had to give him a chance to become that. And that wasn't fair to the relationship. So,
yeah, and I had to do something similar and cut a similar relationship.
And if I was honest, you know, like it ended rough, the friendship. But yes, we were friends But yeah, I had to be honest. There were some soul ties and some strongholds in that friendship that would not have made for a good starting place for our marriage and relationship.
Yep, don't allow any open doors. You are correct.
Yeah, not about that. So that was a real big contention.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's funny. No, just to that point. Like it's funny how in movies and in shows, they always have these examples of you know, marriage relationships and people get married and like you have this person of the same sex, you know what I mean? It's a close friend from back in the day and like making that work and like all that stuff. Like it's not.
Sorry,
it's not
call
cool.
me insecure.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm just not. I remember when I was in seminary, I think I told you the story. The president of the Bible college, he got, his brother was visiting with him and his wife, and they lived in the main house, and he got called away to some emergency. So then I saw the brother and the wife in the cafeteria, and I was like, so them look so cozy, comfy, like, and he's like, oh, you know, the husband got called away, and he was going to be back in a few days. I was like, meh. I'm gonna pack up the whole. I'd either say to my sibling, I'm not leaving you in the house with my person. And it's not that I don't trust you. And again, I don't care. Somebody might say I'm insecure, but I was like, me, it would have to pack up and come with me, or come back when I'm home because you came to see me and not my spouse. Because sometimes that's how things jump off. You're in the house, then somebody's saying, you know, life is so rough. Life has been so rough. And then somebody wants to console somebody, and next thing we're on the Jerry Springer show. And so I'm just like, I know I'm excessive, whatever. I own that.
Even on an emotional level, it's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
But and I think about the biblical, and I think all this depends on what you believe marriage should be, right?
Yeah.
And I think within a biblical context, you know, leaving.
Are you priesting?
No.
I love it when you priest.
All right, we can't priest.
Yes, in the biblical, gone through the
Bible. You know, Bible talks about leaving and cleaving. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Two becoming one.
Yes.
You know, that means I'm giving you my all.
Yeah.
You know, that means I'm not leaving any room for anybody else.
It's not no Oreo. The two is not becoming three.
Exactly.
With some kind of substance in between.
So I'm giving you all my emotionality, everything that should be yours. I'm giving to you, and no one else should be holding on to that, right?
Yes.
And I think, and also, you know, the marriage relationships reflects the relationship between Christ and His church, right? And if we're only supposed to be serving one God and giving ourselves to one God and not bowing down to any other God in any way, shape, or form, I think I think that's very telling of what the marriage relationship should be as well.
Yes,
you know?
Janet says the marriage is between a man and a woman, not extra buddies. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, so that was a definite hurdle we had to overcome around agreeing, getting on the same page around relationships with the opposite sex in our marriage.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Is there another one that stands out for you? Talk to us, guys. What are your questions? What are you currently pushing through in your marriage? I'm trying to think of another contention that we've met up on in the first 2 years of marriage. Oh, I have one.
Okay.
The distribution of workload. Like, we had and we still do have very defined, so to speak, roles.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I feel like we have great communication. I feel like there were times where perhaps, for me especially, that I didn't communicate when I felt like I needed support for the things that were my responsibility, so to speak. So I'm very traditional, and so I don't mind, and I prefer assuming responsibility for some of, like keeping the house clean, cooking, but it would be frustrating. Again, if you don't know this about us, we are a blended family of 7. So running a household of 7, I was a single mother coming into the marriage. I just had to mind myself, right? Because my son was in his late teens when I got married. And now managing a house of 7 people, like, it was like so hardcore, right? And then we would come in with all the children, and then this is when you know you're mad, when you don't say honey and hubby. I was gonna say, and then this guy, I won't refer to you as this guy, and then my husband, and then this guy. So then my husband would be like, I'm just gonna go upstairs to change into something more comfortable, and then I'd see him like lying down and watching, like, and I'm like, and when I come in, my bag goes down and I go straight to the kitchen, and I'm just like, I'm tired too, but we have to tend to the kids, right? And so I was just like, how convenient that you feel like you can take a 15 minute rest off when I feel an expressed urgency to get to the needs of the household. So that that was a, like, I wouldn't say a big, but that was a,
Yeah.
you were stroking your beard. That was a contention for a minute for me around we both had different approaches to what coming home looked like and when unwinding should happen. For me, unwinding happens when everything's done. For him, it's I want to get into comfy clothes and relax a little and then get started. And so there was a lot of back and forth about what those things should look like.
Someone asked before,
Yes.
how do you make a healthy marriage, I think?
How to make a healthy marriage?
How to build a healthy marriage with your partner. Yes.
How to build a healthy marriage with your partner.
Yes.
Sorry, we're both blind. We both wear glasses and we can't even
What
see.
do you have to say on that one?
Yeah, so Alan wants to hear your response to that one, the sharing of the helping.
Me learn for wash dishes, yo. I'm cook dinner. But yeah, no, we balance it out. We communicate, we negotiate, and we get the stuff done.
But it took a while because
Yeah.
it took a couple goals at that fight.
Yeah.
Because, I would share that and he'd be like, well, who's stopping you? Go change your clothes and relax. And I'm like, yeah, but we need, like, dinner needs to get on the table by a certain time because if that's done late, it delays all the other things we have to do with the kids and getting them to bed on time, which is really important for me, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we went, and then I would eat, and then I would kind of do passive aggressive things, like just let things slide and not help and be like, well, then we're all resting then, must be nice. And since we're all on vacation then, like, you know what I mean? So, and I would go in between being good and feeling energized by serving my family and doing those things to resenting them and more specifically him. And so I think we went back and forth quite a bit until he started to see the toll it was having on me, because it's a lot of work. And I think sometimes men, help me out here, ladies. Like, I feel like sometimes men don't always realize what goes into the maintenance. Like, you just know you come home, things are done, things are in their rightful place, it's clean, and you don't really see when it's happening or how it's happening. And so I think it took a long time for my husband to see the toll, like the literal toll. It was exhausting. It was exhausting, and I just needed a little bit of help. Like, we're talking about, can you cut up the onions and the stuff, right? Yeah. Or can you? My rule is if I cook, I don't do dishes, or it may just mean I need 15 minutes.
But when I cook, I do dishes though.
That's because no, you don't. The kids do dishes.
I oversee.
The kids do dishes. Whatever. Yeah. So it wasn't a lot. It wasn't like I was like, take it over. I just needed a little bit of support, and the little bit of support, once I started getting it, really made a difference.
So what I do now is I try to be more proactive in the housework. I don't take a seat back, and I anticipate the needs. I help with the meal planning. I'll ask if grocery shopping needs to be happening. I always ask her if she needs anything to get done before I start doing anything else. And if
so appreciated.
And if there's something else I'd like to do when I get home, I make sure I communicate that beforehand.
Yes.
So that expectations are managed well.
So to the earlier question around building the healthy marriage, again, I know it may sound redundant to hear communication, but like, even when you think you're being clear, like, over communicate, because a lot of times it was just like, I think we missed each other on the communication, or we were making assumptions that the other person was filling in the blanks, and that wasn't the case. So I think in the last 6 months, I think we've gotten better at over communicating things so that we're not missing each other. And it's not perfect, it's not seamless, but it's healthy. And I think that sometimes we think if we don't, I was talking to someone and I was saying, marriage is hard, and they're like, does it have to be? I'm like, because we're human beings. We're different personalities, number one. I'm an extreme introvert. My husband is an extreme extrovert. I think we're both kind of type A, but I came from a very small family. He comes from a very large family. I came up from a very structured parental environment. He came from a free flow. So they're like, we are extreme opposites, which most people end up marrying their opposites. So healthy doesn't mean an absence of conflict. Conflict is natural. It's how you move through those things, and do you have the tools to move through it effectively? Because you cannot, apologies are not enough, right? You can't take back the ugly, dirty things you say to each other. It takes a lot of warfare and time to unroot seeds that you've planted with your words and your actions. You can't just be like, oops, sorry, right? That doesn't, someone says communication and understanding. Can women feel emotional by look at the other?
So can you feel emotional by looking at another good relationship?
I think that's a good question. Sheena, can you just clarify that question for me a little bit? I'd love to answer it. And Alan says, women should not feel emotional by looking at others' relationships. So if I'm understanding the comment correctly, emotional in terms of like coveting, like jealousy. Yeah. And if that's what you mean, we already know how it goes already. This is the conclusion that I've come to. Uh-oh. Everybody is graced for their somebody's quirks. Everybody. Like, you can see another couple and be like, no, sir, me wouldn't want them man there, or I couldn't put up with that. That's cool. That's why you're not married to that person. That wife has the grace for the quirks of her husband, just like I'm graced for the quirks of my husband. Some other woman might be like, no, I would never marry him. He's got all those children, whatever. Everybody's graced for their person's stuff. So you're gonna have to deal with something, right? It's just, what are you graced to deal with without compromising? What are you called to? I'm not called to every man, and I'm not called to every situation. I'm called to this man and his stuff, right? And even when it gets tough, I have to remind myself that if God put us together, it's because he knew that there was a grace on my life to minister to his shortcomings, just like there's a grace on his life to minister to my shortcomings. So don't get emotional when you see and people have marriage is like this underground club. Every relationship is different. Yeah. It's like marriage is like this underground club. It's like you cross over and there's all this stuff and you're like, so why was nobody and I think that's part of why we started doing Marriage Musings. Because I was like, why were married people not like heralding some of this stuff? Like, why were they not telling their stories? It wasn't until after we got married that I found people were like, don't worry, honey, it took us 19 years to get it right. Why are you telling me this now? Why didn't you tell me this is a single person so I can begin to wrap my mind around the expectations of marriage? Or someone would be like, don't worry, 3 times my husband cheated on me. And right now, he's not even living, he just came back to why is everybody like, and I get like, marriage is sacred.
Yes.
You don't want to put all your dirt out there, which is not what I'm suggesting, but it really just felt like marriage was this underground club that you don't get access to the intel until you cross over, and it feels oh so late.
and I think that
Janet says, I would listen. Janet says I wouldn't listen. I would listen.
Yes. But I think so.
It would normalize it.
Yes. So to answer that last question and question before around how to build a healthy marriage, I think understanding that marriage is 2 sinful human beings coming together with stuff. 2
sinful human beings coming together with stuff.
Exactly, right?
In a confined space.
Yes. In intense interaction. So, like, we're both broken. We both have our pain bodies. We both have our issues. We both have our differences. We both have our sin nature.
Yeah.
We both find it difficult to do what God commands.
Yeah.
And, we have our ups and our downs and emotionalism and all this stuff, right? And on top of that, all the external stuff around us with work, children,
all the
pressures,
yeah,
you're gonna have some conflict.
You're gonna,
you know what I
have
mean?
some conflict.
But I think understanding that,
yeah,
and going into the marriage, understanding that dynamic helps you to manage your expectations and also manage how to treat things. Because if you look at how God has ministered to us and brought healing to us, we can learn from that when it comes to our spouse.
Right.
So God has loved us into victory, loved us into healing. You know what I mean? Loved us into our destiny and our purpose, right? So we follow that.
Pattern.
Yeah, so we follow that same pattern, right? But to answer that second question now about catching feelings about other people's relationships, if their relationship looks perfect, then one of two things: either they're good at hiding their problems, or it's a matter of time before it mash up, because there's no such thing as a perfect relationship.
And I don't keep friends with perfect people. My husband's laughing because he knows I'm so like. And what I mean by that is, if every time I see you, you're good. It's hard. I don't even know what to say after.
It's hard to have an intimate relationship.
It's hard, yeah. And then I'm like, it's not even that. I'm like, if every time I see you, you're good. Every time I see your marriage is, how you doing? Good. How's your husband? How are things going? If every time you're good, then I don't want to be around you, because I'm not always good. And if you're always good, you may not be able to handle my... He's going to say something my lack of goodness. I don't know, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mean I need, like, people who are like, yeah, and complainers all the time. I don't want that either. But I am a huge champion of authenticity. And yeah, like, we had a fight, and I think it was on a Sunday morning, and we still went to church, and we weren't at our church. We were at the church of some friends of ours. And I was mad. Like, when I'm mad, I'm mad. Like, you may not perceive that about me from, like, my cheery images and my lies. But when I'm mad, I'm mad. And we saw our friends after, and they're like, and I was screw-faced to the bone. And they were like, how are you doing? And I said, not good. And then, like, you could cut they didn't know they didn't know how to handle it. They were just like, and then, like, I think the husband kind of looked at Yvonne, and, and yeah, they just didn't know what to do with it. But I'm not one of those people who are like, oh my gosh, we're good. I'm just like, yeah, man, it's rough. It's hardcore. Like, yeah. What are folks saying?
Okay, so what if the woman is a breadwinner and the man can't work to disabled? Financial is a big issue to me. He helped with some of bills if he can. I pay for the other bills out of love.
So if the person you are already married and the person cannot work because of some kind of physical disability, for better or for worse, I really don't know how to answer that, because the tables, I understand that finances may be a huge piece of security for you, and probably even out of respect. Like, some people are like, I need him to be the breadwinner to respect him, but tables flip all the time. And tables flip all the time.
And the thing is, a man, it can be difficult for some men, because we pride ourselves and define our manhood a lot of times by our ability to provide, right? Yeah, you're right. You work with each other. You're right. Our ability to provide.
Imagine what that's doing to him.
So yeah, that's so difficult. So if there's a disability and your spouse has to step up, like it's hard. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine what he's going through, and I know. I can't dictate to you how you manage money in your marriage, but one of the things for us is it's our money, right? So it doesn't matter who at any given point is contributing more to the general pot. It's our money. And so before we got married, I was making more money than my husband. Yeah. He's probably making almost double. Yeah, like, he's close to making double to what I was making when the tables flipped, right? Yeah. And so I was very conscientious to not make it feel like I'm trumping him financially. I would still consult with him even when it was coming out of my money, so to speak, because we weren't married yet, but we would still talk, and we'd be like, okay, so what do you think the budget should be, babe? And da-da-da-da-da, like, and if we were going out and we set a budget, I would send him the money
for the weekend or whatever, so that he would control, you know what I'm saying? Like, so and he didn't have insecurities and whatever about it, but then the tables flipped. You know what I mean? Last year I launched out into full-time entrepreneurship, and so yeah, I'm not bringing in as much as I used to, that I'm used to, but the tables can flip from finances to health to God only knows, right? And that's the vow, for better
or for worse.
Or for worse.
And I think that what you said is key, that we have to be, what helps is that we're both making the financial decisions together, and no one's left out, you know?
Why, Maureen says, why do married Christian couples seem to ignore each other in church? How does your listen, Maureen, preach. Listen, we don't, so where we worship, what I loved was it was the first time me belonging to a church where marriage and couples were so, like, it's the thing of the house. Like, my pastor talks about it, encourages it. We have a very strong couples ministry, and it was nice, like, couples sit together, they're all cuddled up. So when we started dating, we had a conversation, because what I grew up seeing was, you would see somebody and they never spoke to each other. We never saw them talk to a person of the opposite sex. And then one Sunday, these random people from different corners of the church come up, right? For those of you who are used to this type of Christian community, and then you hear that there's an engagement. So we knew we didn't want that. We knew we didn't want that. And then I'm also a minister, so I'm a leader at my church. So I also didn't want to I'm like, what does that look like as a single minister? Like, every couple of months or whatever, as you're dating you like Reverend Nicole's rolling up with some different man. So I didn't want that either. So we had a lot of dialogue about that, and we agreed that we wanted our courtship to be public. And we thought about the young people. We said we want to be a healthy example of what it looks like to not keep your relationship a secret, to date publicly, to bring your person to church. My pastor was so hardcore. When he met Yvonne, he had him, like, at our church, the ministers, we all march in together and we sit in the front. He had Yvonne march in with the ministers and sit at the front with the ministers when we were dating. I
was so nervous.
That's good and for nervous, because they need to know that there's a community that you belong to, and that you're being accountable, and it did just that. Yeah. So
I asked for people who are not, like, interacting with each other in church. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always hook up on my wife hardcore, and
we're all, like,
and I whisper some things in her ears,
some
for later,
very inappropriate things when I'm supposed to be focused. And he's being inappropriate in the service.
But it's worship, baby.
But we did. We were very deliberate. And then, because I married so much later in life, I'm also very sensitive to what it feels like to be single and be around other couples. So I would often battle the balance between, I don't want to feel like I'm making other people uncomfortable, but I also want to live out our healthy marriage so people can see healthy Black love. Like, we don't have enough of those images till even at home. And it's not like we're popping style in public. Even at home, like, our kids are like, ew, and Yvonne's like, no, this is how you love your wife. This is yes. Like, he's just like, yes. And he'll just grab me in the kitchen and grab me wherever. He's like, y'all need to see, y'all need to see what love looks like. Your sons need to see how you show affection to your wife, and our daughter needs to see how your husband's supposed to cherish you and love upon you. Like, and so we wanted that to spill over in other spaces, especially church, where, for me at least, I didn't have a lot. Like, I grew up some people, you didn't even know they were married. You were so frightened to know that they belonged to each other, because one's sitting over there on any given Sunday. Nowadays, we drive different cars, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, that was big for us. Any other questions we can answer for you? How are you feeling? I'm starting to run out of steam.
I'm feeling good. I'm hungry. Does the same with her. Yes, I dance with my wife in church. Yes, I kiss her in church. Yes,
Alan. Yes.
I kiss mine. Don't me hook her up door.
And can I tell you? So I've had to learn. Like, this is new. Like, I didn't come from a family that's very affectionate. My husband and his entire family, they're so huggy and touchy, and that was new for me. Like, that was really, really new. And I had to learn to relax and be comfortable with it, especially, like, he loves PDA. And I remember when I was single and I would see people sitting on the same booth in a restaurant, and I would be like, so what's our way for them love so sweet? Like, you mean to tell me you love each other so much you can't like manage the little 2 hours of the dinner to sit across from each other, right? Like, but I was just like, I didn't want to shut it down, because I didn't want, like, 10 years later in the marriage, I'm like, so how come you don't hold, how come you don't hold my hand anymore? And I'm just like, and as a coach, I worked with and talked to many women who, it is a challenge, because they're just like, my husband's not very affectionate. So I didn't want to kill that part of him. I had to learn how to, be like, and now I enjoy it, and now I'm much better at it. Do you lead ministries together? I wasn't expecting to bump heads so much in this area in term with respect to leading together. Not really. Not I think we've worked on projects together, but we don't necessarily like lead a ministry together, and I don't I can imagine how challenging. I think we would. Like, we're so opposite, but on the issues of opposite, again, in my practice as a coach, I do an assessment with individuals, a personality dimensions assessment, and I talk about the importance of reframing how we see differences in each other. Because when you're single or when you meet someone, I always say your differences attract, right? So they attract you to each other. And then the same thing that differences attract, and then differences attack. So the very thing that attracts you to the person, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just love, again, I'm an introvert. I just love how he can just be in a room and just,
work the room.
Outgoing and work the room. And then I'm just like, what happened to me? I have to talk to everybody. Like, so differences attract, and then they attack. And so one of the things I really try to challenge myself and my clients is to begin to see differences as gifts and not faults, right? And to remind yourself that whatever is aggravating you in your partner, whether it's your spouse or your spouse to be, is probably something that you're lacking in your own life, and to see that difference as a gift, right? Because whatever you're working on, especially in ministry together, you probably have the same goal in mind. You just have different viewpoints and vantage points around how to go about executing the ministry and meeting the vision of the house in the ministry. And so how can you keep that in the forefront and begin to talk through those differences to really understand that you're saying the same thing? Yeah. Because a lot of times we're saying the same thing. We just speak different languages. And
compromising and also understanding each other's strengths, right? So if there's something that I know my wife is better at, I'll take her lead in that, and vice versa, right? So, but again, we don't work in direct ministry. So if she's doing something in ministry, I take a very, very supportive and help role. And just take her lead completely, and vice versa.
Yeah. So. And even not leading a ministry together, but we have struggled with like just sharing the spiritual atmosphere even at home, like in our out of church spaces. So again, my husband, I'm very traditional, very scriptural in that way. I believe he's the head. I believe he's the priest of the home. Cool. But I'm an ordained minister, right? So it was kind of like really hard to reconcile the two around how do I submit? And I know that's a word that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. It can be like nails on a chalkboard. But how do I submit? Which means, for me, means to how do I come up under our shared vision for our lives together, when I have a calling and a gifting of leadership on my own, that's on my own life, right? So I think we've struggled with that a little bit, right? Like where I'm just like, I already sought God and I know what He told me. Like, and that's, I don't say that to him, but that's what I would struggle with. That's what I'm thinking. I'm waiting to see what he's going to say because I know what God showed me. And so yeah, like I think that was hard for me. Yeah. That was hard for me finding that balance. I think I abased so much that it took it took a while for the pendulum to swing to allow my giftings to be in full operation in our home without usurping my husband's leadership and his authority. How have I done with that?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't think you use your gifts enough, but great.
At home, or you mean in general?
At home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? How? Like how so?
Because you have the gift of the discernment, and I think you have a passion and desire for ministry. So I know you talked about wanting to do like communion at home and have more prayer time, like intense prayer time at home, and see the move of the Spirit, stuff like that. Like that, those are areas where they're not my strengths, and I'd love to see that more. But I don't have a lot of experience in those things. You know
And so
what I mean?
it's been rising as we kind of trying to find a harmonious.
Harmonious.
Same thing. A harmonious,
Yeah.
kind of flow of our giftings and our leadership abilities.
So someone asked, how do you know when we found our soulmate? I have some views on that.
Untrue.
I don't know.
So last topic. I'm fading. Last topic about dry.
It's a heavy topic.
That's like a whole. I don't. Gone through.
I don't believe in soulmates, to be honest. Like the idea that there's only one person out there for you. I think it's if that's what you mean. I think that is a Disney love. Something Hollywood's made up that's completely unreal. I think that there are many people that you could possibly be with, right? And no matter what, it's gonna take work to love, and I think that there are things that are going to attract you to a person. You're gonna have things in common. You're gonna enjoy each other. You're gonna have a similar vision and desires for life that will bring you guys together, but at the end of the day, no matter what marriage you go into, a relationship you go into, you gotta wake up every morning choosing to continue to love that person. I'm born out of choosing to love. Great emotions and happiness will come out of that. But I love my wife. I get up every day and say, I'm gonna love my wife, and I enjoy her, and sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? But I still love her,
But I think I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I agree with the idea that love is a choice. And I struggle with that language because especially for women, no woman wants to feel like a responsibility. Like saying I love you by choice feels like a responsibility. Like I took the garbage, I did my chores by choice. Like you want to feel that the person is excited about, but it doesn't feel like that. I think for women, just as we kind of wrap up, I think that was one of the biggest lessons for me. And again, I'm not very idealistic. I'm not even very touchy-feely kind of person by nature. However, I think that we do romanticize marriage a lot more than men. And we do want to feel desired. We want to feel like our spouse finds us desirable. We want to feel like, but it's not, it really isn't like that every day. And I've had moments where it's been hard to reconcile why you see me cross the room and you're not like, I'm not capturing your attention like I did when we were dating. Like if you go in and out of those moments, it gets hot and then it's cool off a little bit and it's hot and and I mean you want some consistency, and of course I think that if you find that every day you're having to fight to choose to love your spouse, I think that it needs work.
Yes.
Because I don't only believe in premarital counseling for couples. I believe in post-marriage enrichment commitments as well.
Pre-engagement counseling.
Because that's when I feel like that's when you need the counseling and the coaching and the mentorship and the support.
Yes.
It's post-marriage,
yes.
right? So I think as women, like, we need to, so much of how we see ourselves, because we've been cultured that way, right? As women, a lot of how we're cultured that almost everything about us is informed by how a man sees us, how he was, we're trained to meet his needs, to serve him, to be sexy for him, to be hypersexual beings for him. Like, we get so much messaging around that from early. Like, it's always about us keeping our bodies, whatever. He can have a big old beer belly and it doesn't even matter, right? But, like, you're supposed to, like, snatch your body back, keep it hot, keep it sexy. Like, there's so much messaging about what we're supposed to do. And so when you get that stinking thinking in your head and you get into a marriage now and you're doing all of the pulp culture ideologies around pleasing a man and he doesn't seem responsive to it, it's like you don't even know what to make of yourself outside of that, right? So I think there's some normalizing to be done too for us as women around the emotionality of marriage, the sexuality of marriage, and just the expectations in both directions.
Thank you, Pastor O'Neill.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, so if there are no more questions, I think, is that a wrap?
I think that's it. I want to eat a bowl of cereal. I want to eat a bowl of cereal and watch my show.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for spending the time with us in our long overdue Marriage Musings Q&A. If you enjoyed the discussion tonight, we actually do have a YouTube channel called Marriage Musings. Check it out to check some of our post videos from year 1 and a few of the ones from year 2. And if you found it hopeful, share. If you'd like us to come back and do this again, I think we'd be happy to if you're finding it helpful and if it is blessing someone. But make sure you tell others to join and to come with some questions. Thank you, sis. Thank you so much. God bless you too. It was great. Hope there's another interactive session. Yeah. So you thank Avon for that, because he's like, I want to do a live. He doesn't even know what a live is.
I have a BlackBerry. What's your?
He doesn't even know what a live is. He's always been talking about he's going to go live. I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Alan, tell the man them to roll through next time. We need more testosterone on the line to get the male perspective and hear what some of the men are struggling with. So much enrichment is in the direction of women. Like, there's so much for us to read, watch, engage in as women to learn how to be better wives and better women. And I don't know how many spaces there are for men. So thank you for
step up, man.
Yeah, man. So thank you for the fact that we get to do this together, and that I hope that it's been a balanced narrative.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Take care. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. And see y'all next time.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.